Everybody, welcome to the channel, or welcome back, covering all things Snap. So this is the WolverSNAP channel. We're going to be talking about move deck in this one, specifically how to beat it. I had a fight over here, or a matchup with someone. It was actually one that I was like, you know what, after I did it, I was like, I want to do a video on this. I thought it might be able to be helpful to others who might struggle against move decks, or somebody who might be trying to figure it out. So let's dive in. Long and short of move decks, the cards shift around to some final location, typically on turn 6 due to Heimdall, and there's a bunch of points that shift around the screen. So you've got to be able to calculate exactly what is going to happen to the best of your ability. Now, it makes it somewhat easy right now because Heimdall is the one that sort of comes turn 6, and we'll get into the abilities of these move cards in a little bit, but you can sort of start calculating. And if you're going to watch anything, or you want something real quick, the long and short of this is you got to think through what's going to happen, and you got to think through what cards are going to shift, because I'll have to say that I did learn that the hard way, thinking, oh, well, okay, it's going to take this one first. Well, there's a certain order, and that order is about what they're played in. So we're going to walk through this. It was a really good match, and the reason I wanted to highlight this is because you see in this specific match, I laid 2 devil dinosaurs on the same location. So that means I went turn 5 there, and I went turn 6 there, because I had to think through what was what. So the way this started getting built up is multiple man he gave a Hulkbuster to. So I immediately knew, all right, this card's going to start racking up some points, and it's going to get shifted at least at the end by the Heimdall. The Heimdall will always move 1 to the left. Iron Fist is another good one because it moves your next card to the left once. Now, I think there's some better decks to use here and move things around. I'm guessing their Vulture didn't come out, but that's another card that's going to jump around. So when you get to that point, you've got to think about it's really about coming to that turn 6 on where things are going to go. Now, generally speaking, one of the things you know is going to happen is Heimdall is going to get laid down that final turn. So everything's going to shift to the left, which typically means these 2 locations are going to have the highest powers, because they're not going to be able to leave a lot to the right. Now, this person could have gone ahead and left Heimdall on the right-hand side and maybe won. So that sort of depends, because when you look at a Heimdall card, specifically, move your other cards 1 location to the left. So this person in particular, if they didn't have the Iron Fist before that Heimdall, they could have left that 8 here and won that right-hand side. So that's a factor you have to put in there. Now, so what I started doing as this happened, like I said, I think he forged the Craven. He had Maul over here by himself. Obviously, he had Nightcrawler. He eventually moved the Nightcrawler over to one spot, moved some other back, tried to get some multiple cards. Anyway, one of the big parts, like I said, was Hulk busting this multiple man. The Forge was there. I feel like this is an okay card because you can also build up a multiple man, or maybe a Vulture or something along those lines, just to try to get more points to. Cloak is a card that you're going to see where they put it somewhere to help get multiple moves, maybe to build up a Craven or build up a Vulture, or get more multiple men on the board. So when I looked at this hand before turn 6, there was an Ebony Maw. These 3 were in the center section. This Iron Fist was over here to the left. And so I started thinking about, okay, what is he gonna do here? Now, I think the Heimdall got played on this left side first, and so what ended up happening is Heimdall shifted these 3 cards over to the left, and I could figure that out by going and looking at this deck and going, okay, so which one of these did he play first? So it's 4-3, I think 2-1. So I knew which ones were going to shift over. I lost a game once thinking, because I thought for some reason this was the card that was going to shift over. That's the last card that gets played there on the top. So you gotta sort of think that through a little bit. So when I was sitting here and I saw this Iron Fist right here, I knew that Heimdall would shift to the left one. So I started mathing out. I go, okay, this section, forget about it. It is done. It was done. I knew it was done pretty early. I didn't really care. I was going to let it go. So when you see a move deck happening, that is one of the first things that I'll say is you might just want to let that left side go, because depending what they do, they could dump a bunch of points in there, or maybe not, but there's going to be you might want to focus on the right 2 just to make sure. So as I was looking at this, I saw, all right, so he's going to get 9 here. He's going to get the 2 from the Iron Fist. And I knew the Heimdall was going to get shifted over because he played that right after the Iron Fist. So I knew this was going to be 20, which would have beaten my Devil Dinosaur by 5. I knew it. Now I knew this multiple man was going to get left here for 9. So I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, I will be able to calc out here that I'm going to get 11 on this right side, and this middle section, I need to be able to beat 20. So when I had that extra Devil Dinosaur, I immediately thought, all right, well, I have to play that in the middle. Because the truth is I might have never played that there. I might have tried to, I mean, maybe I could have played it on the left and still won. But I might have thought that, okay, maybe he's going to play Heimdall here. Maybe he's going to play it here. But with that Iron Fist, I knew he was going to shift over. So at the end of the day, it's all about trying to math out each thing that's going to happen here. And a big part of it, like I said, is Heimdall. Know what they've got. Now, if they put a cloak turn 5, you got to start thinking about what's shifting around, what's going there. That's a lot of RNG, but still, at the end of the day, you want to start thinking about, all right, what's the things that they're going to move the most? When I look at these cards, when you've got, this is, so again, snap.fan, I love this website. It's got everything that you could ask for. I love the filter for the cards. There are some, I think personally, I think Vulture is probably the strongest move card, because every time this card moves, you get +5. So in that one in itself, that thing could pop around. You know, maybe you play it first time right after Iron Fist, then you play it after it's in one spot, and then you get a cloak down and you move it to a cloak. Maybe you move it with a Doctor Strange, then you finish it off with the Heimdall. So all of these different things you could sort of move this card around with. So now another counter to this, Kingpin. If for some reason we start getting a move deck meta, make sure you've got Kingpin in your deck, because when you think about it, it's like, well, maybe I might just drop that on, you know, the left-hand side. And you play with a Silver Surfer, depending what the nerf comes, that might be something. So as I look at all these cards, now all of these aren't just move cards. I just filtered it a certain way. M'Baku's trash, but you got to understand how all these cards work. So, you know, your Iron Fist is going to be something that moves a card. Your Nightcrawler moves on its own. The Cloak, the next turn, both players can move anything to that location. So you really want to think about using that card right after you use a Vulture or something along those lines. Or maybe you lay that on a situation where a Kraven's at and you get multiple people there. Dagger, when this one moves, +2 for each card your opponent has there. So maybe that's something you think about. So you get a card there and it's like, maybe that one moves multiple times. Kraven, we already talked about. It's when a card moves there, you get, that one gets +2. Kraven, I'm actually a little bit of a less fan on, but you know, you throw it in there, it gets extra. Multiple Man, I think, is one of the stronger ones on there as well, as far as that move deck. Doctor Strange, we talked about. Kingpin as a counter. Captain Marvel technically has a move on it that you can move to a location you could win. So maybe, but that's going to auto move. I'm not sure that calcs in like stuff like Kraven get extra points or anything along those lines. Vision is another one you can move quite a bit, but that has to be played turn 5. So for that reason, I get a little weary on that. If you ever get a reduced cost in that Vision, yeah, I think he could really be, you know, something to understand there. And then obviously Heimdall, which moves all the cards to the left. So the point of this, and the thing that I really want to share, is one, you got to understand how all those cards work. And then 2, as you play against the move deck, you've got to see what they're doing and understand that everything is going to shift to the, I mean, the biggest thing to play here is a Heimdall. The Heimdall is going to do most of the damage here and change things as much as possible. Now, you know, you could do cloaks. What I personally might think about is maybe a Moon Girl. I know that sounds, or a Zabu Moon Girl, duplicate some cloaks and then move things multiple times. That to me would be super, super fun. I think that would be, I don't know. I have a good time with that. So understand what these move cards are doing. Understand when you're looking at this, what somebody played, what the likely next card is, and understand where you're at with the turns, because the biggest thing is knowing on turn 6, Heimdall is likely coming, or if they did a turn 5 with Cloak, you really got to think about that. That's where, like I said earlier, that gets complicated, and just start doing the math on it. Understand what cards are going to shift over first, what's going to be there, and that way you may make a decision where it's like, you know what, I'm doubling up on a Devil Dinosaur on the same location 2 turns in a row. So I wanted to do a video on this. This might be mainly for some beginner-esque type players. but I'm sure that I could potentially see Second Dinner adding some more move cards in the future to make this a more formidable archetype, because I do think it's fun and it does take a lot of brain power to do it. And I know once I get Vulture, I'm definitely going to test it out a little bit more because I think it could be super cool. So I appreciate you to make this far. Like I said, doing Marvel Snap on this channel. I want to try to grow it. Share with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, grandma, grandpas. Appreciate it. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.